Hi, Garden Dad here. Welcome back. We're going to check our maple buckets, and I think they've got some sap in them, so we're going to do a swap and bring the sap out to the barn so we can start to boil it off today. Hi, we're back. It's been a couple of days since we tapped the trees, and the buckets are filling up. So I'm going to show you what we have going. You can see it's about half full. So I'm going to get a spare empty bucket, and I'm going to disconnect this bucket, and I'm going to swap them out. So here's the empty. I've got these connected to the tree so the wind doesn't blow them away. And I take that out, swap the tops, snap it down, and I got to reconnect it. I'm going to take the bucket partially full of sap, and I'm going to put a top with no holes in it so it doesn't splash all over when I bring it out to the garage where I have to boil it down. So I'm back in the garage. Here is the stove. Pretty nice stove. We'll get it going. I have an old Revereware pot. I'm going to show you a little Boy Scout trick. I'm going to put some soap on the bottom of the pot so that the flames that will make a black char on the outside of the pot will just come right off. The soap will come right off with water. It's a pretty neat little trick we learned back in the day when we used to cook on mess kits and Boy Scouts. That's how we kept stuff clean. So this is just Dollar General hand soap. Pretty cheap stuff. Gonna rub it all around. Hopefully it stays. I usually use, what's that stuff? Blue Dawn. Miracle soap. Gets off stains, gets off everything. I didn't have that handy. So I'm just gonna do all the outsides. Don't get it on the inside because you'll end up with soapy tasting maple syrup. Just keep it on the outside. Okay, I'm gonna flip it back up. Okay, I'm back. I got the soap wiped off my hands. Now I'm gonna try to dump some of the sap into this pan, and then I'm gonna probably go in the house and get another pan, so I'll have a couple of pans going, and I'm gonna try to get these burners running. Interestingly, I've got about 15 gallons of sap right now, and I said my goal was 20 gallons of sap. I might be not doing this much longer. Maybe I'll go for 30 gallons of sap. We'll see. So I picked up a second pot, and the two pots are so wide, I had to change burners from the middle burner to the two outside burners. So I've got the second pot here, and I'm going to put some more sap water in it. We'll just be boiling all day today. By the way, I'm not going to babysit these. I'm going to probably look out the window and see that steam's coming out. Just want to make sure that I don't burn them down so far that it chars the pan, the inside of the pan. I don't think that's going to happen. There's a lot of boiling to do before it gets that low. But I'll be running this all day long today. Okay, so it looks like stuff is steaming up pretty well. I got my second pan going. I put a little rag on top because this metal handle, I get burned every year on it. This year I'm remembering to put a rag on top of the handle. And it looks like they're starting to steam up. You can see that the pans are boiling pretty good. One of the things I didn't mention is once they do start boiling, I take the tops off so that the sap evaporation could just go off into the air and not make its way back into the pan because the cover's on. So after they get going, take the tops off. Okay, I'm back again. I consolidated my remaining sap into one boiling pan. This is the pan that I'd emptied out, obviously. I've got it upside down. You can see how charred it is on the bottom. Hopefully the soap technique is going to work. It wasn't the same kind of soap I normally use, but I'm going to try to get this thing cleaned up in a bit. So just got done rinsing off and scrubbing that pan a little bit with some cleanser. Came out pretty clean. I will note that I don't get as much char on the pans using propane as I used to get when I used a wood fire. But there was some char on there and it cleaned up pretty well. Actually, this pan's probably cleaner right now than it was before we started. I don't always scrub the bottoms of the pans after I use them. Anyways, so the soap on the outside of the pan did its job. Well, the sap is boiled down to the point where we're going to finish it off. So today I'm going to show you the process of boiling it down into maple syrup. Here's the pan that I brought off the propane stove in the garage. You can see how much it's boiled down. That started off as 20 gallons of watery sap, and now it's down to, I don't know what that is, maybe a couple of quarts. We still have to boil it some more. Before we boil it, we're going to filter it into another pan that we'll finish it off in. We want to get any sediment out to make sure it's a nice clean syrup when it gets boiled down. So I have another pan rigged up with a filtering system, if you will. This basket was a hanging flower basket, and these are filters that you'll get in the kit that I recommend in the link that's in the description. But we're going to pour this sap through this filter and into the pan, and you'll see how much sediment we really will collect. We're going to try to get it to come through the filter, and if you don't have these kinds of filters, you can use cheesecloth or anything else that'll let the sap pass through but still collect sediment. And I might actually filter this a couple of times. And you'll get to see I'm going to rinse out the filters, and I'll do it again probably. So here's the filters. You could see they're pretty dirty. Okay, I'm going to rinse these out because they're reusable. So I'm going to rinse these out and clean them, get all the sediment out of here. And in the meantime, I will show you what the filtered maple syrup looks like that's got to be finished off. So here's the filtered syrup. It's still kind of thin. So I'm going to start boiling it off inside the house until it gets thicker. Okay, so I just got done rinsing these out. And you can see they cleaned up pretty nicely with just some rinse water. I just rinsed them in water so they can be reused again. So the sap is boiling on the stove, and you can see it's a little bit thin for my liking. So we're going to try to get the temperature up. The target temperature is 219 degrees. We're going to skip ahead to when it gets to be about 194 to 200. Eventually it pauses at about 212 degrees, and we're going to start keeping a closer eye on it because when it gets to 219 it should be ready, but it starts to boil off very quickly when it gets this hot, and sometimes you wait too long and then you have a problem on your hands because you boiled it too long. So the sap has been boiling for a while, and it looks like it might be ready. I'm going to take a quick temperature check, and oh boy, it looks like it's at 226 degrees, which is higher than I really want it, but I think we're catching it just in time. Now, a lot of people use hydrometers and other things to determine when it's ready. I just check to see how thick it is. Now, it will not be as thick as you might see coming out of a bottle, and the reason for that is that it's hot. So when it cools down, it gets a little bit thicker. But this to me looks like it's going to be just right. I put some in a bowl to get it to cool off a little bit, and we like ours a little thin, but it's looking pretty good. And I think it's going to get even thicker um, as it cools down. So the sap is done boiling off, and now I'm going to filter it into a measuring cup so it's easier to pour into my mason jars. I'm going to use the same filtering system that I used to get the sediment out initially. This time it's going to get any remaining sediment and anything else that we might want to take out of the sap. You could see some stuff flowing around as I pour it out. It's going to take a little while to make its way through the filter, and then we'll take a look, see how much syrup we ended up with. Looks like we ended up with about 5 cups of syrup. Not too bad. I took some mason jars, I ran them through the dishwasher in a sanitize cycle along with the tops, and I'm going to top these off. I'm going to fill these with syrup, and we're going to see how far we get. So it looks like we got a few small containers. I'm still collecting sap. I don't know if I'm going to boil any more off or not, but I'm going to consider this a successful project. I'm going to put these tops on, and I'm going to stick these in the refrigerator. I don't seal them up. I don't do that canning thing, but I do not leave them out. They will be refrigerated for the duration of their storage life. If you go out on the internet and look at what the cost of Vermont pure maple syrup or even organic maple syrup, it's at least $1 an ounce. Like 16 ounces is $17.95. I saw 32 ounces for $35.95. So our variable costs were $14 for propane. You know, the fixed cost with the propane stove and the pans, which we already came out of our kitchen, all that. I don't really count the fixed cost because I reuse it every year. So I spent about $14 in propane. I got, I don't know, $35 or $40 worth of syrup if I don't count my time. So I think it was a worthwhile project. Give it a try. It's not difficult. It just takes a little bit of time. Garden Dad going to be signing off here. You have a great day every day. And don't forget to smile and be kind.